Lewis Hamilton's time at Ferrari is quickly becoming one of the most dramatic storylines of the 2025 Formula One season. After years of synergy and control at Mercedes, his new chapter in red has already been filled with frustration, unexpected setbacks, and rising tension, not just on track, but inside the team radio. At the Chinese Grand Prix, that tension boiled over once again in a shocking radio exchange that has now been leaked, revealing just how strained communication has become between Hamilton and his new race engineer, Riccardo Adami. What should have been a routine mid-race strategy call turned into a series of delayed responses, indecision, and visible friction, all caught live during the race and now making headlines across the paddock. For a driver as experienced as Hamilton, who built an almost telepathic partnership with Peter Bonington over more than a decade, these awkward and, at times, blunt conversations with Adami feel completely out of place. Fans are already asking, is Hamilton losing patience with Ferrari's race day decision-making? Add to that the fact that Ferrari's race pace was clearly lacking in China, plus a separate disaster involving a double disqualification for technical infringements. And you have a team that's not just underperforming, but unraveling. Hamilton may have started this journey full of hope, but now with every lap and every radio message, the cracks are starting to show. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what happened between Hamilton and his engineer, word by word. We'll analyze how the situation unfolded, what it tells us about Ferrari's internal dynamics, and what this could mean for Hamilton's confidence and results going forward. So make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Most importantly, stay until the very end, because this radio leak reveals far more than just frustration. It may be the beginning of something much bigger. The Chinese Grand Prix was supposed to be a weekend of rebuilding for Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. All eyes were on how the team would respond and whether Hamilton could finally get back into rhythm. But what unfolded on Sunday afternoon was anything but smooth. From the opening lap, things got messy. And not because of the competition, but because of Ferrari's own internal dynamics. Despite the damage, Ferrari told Leclerc his car was still performing well and that he should continue to push. Surprisingly, he did, quickly finding pace, and within a few laps he was closing in on Hamilton. That's when the now infamous radio exchange began. Hamilton's initial message to his race engineer, Riccardo Adami, sounded like a team player. "I think I'm going to let Charles go because I'm struggling." Adami quickly replied, "Understood." At that point, everyone expected a quick and clean switch between the drivers. But moments later, Hamilton changed his tone. He kept Leclerc behind, saying he needs to be closer. The team urged him again to make the switch, suggesting turn 14 as the place to do it. Hamilton replied, "I'll let him through when he's closer." When Adami insisted, asking if they could make the switch on that lap, Hamilton's blunt response came through, "I'll tell you when we can swap." Those words hit hard, not just because of the tension they revealed, but because they echoed a kind of resistance and mistrust that's extremely rare for Hamilton. Fans immediately picked up on how different this sounded from his days at Mercedes. With Bono, Hamilton had rhythm, trust, and mutual understanding. With Adami, it's misfires and mixed messages. Eventually, Hamilton let Leclerc through on lap 21, but by then, the damage had already been done. The delay cost Ferrari valuable seconds. Leclerc's engineer even apologized to him over the radio for how long it took. Later in the race, Verstappen was able to overtake Leclerc for P4, a move that possibly wouldn't have happened if Ferrari had executed the team orders quicker. Meanwhile, Hamilton faded to sixth, finishing over 25 seconds behind Oscar Piastri, who won the race in dominant fashion. After the race, Hamilton was unusually brief with the media. He gave only 38 words to 2 questions, telling Sky Sports, "I struggled. Didn't have any rear end, and then the car wasn't turning at low speeds. Yesterday, I didn't have that problem. I was just struggling with pace." "Let me try something," adds even more intrigue to the radio situation. It suggests Hamilton felt the team wasn't helping him find the performance he needed and that he was having to improvise just to stay competitive. And this isn't the first time communication has been an issue this season. In Australia, Hamilton told Adami to "leave me to it" after being overwhelmed by too much radio input during a chaotic race. Now, just one race later, he's holding off on a team order and asserting control over strategy timing himself. These aren't isolated incidents, they're a pattern that suggests Hamilton is growing increasingly frustrated with how Ferrari communicates and operates during race conditions. And when you're driving a car that, at best, is the third fastest on the grid, clear, decisive teamwork isn't optional, it's essential. Meanwhile, Ferrari is still reeling from the double disqualification in Australia, and now a race where, despite showing glimpses of pace, they were again outclassed by McLaren and Red Bull. Leclerc may have had the upper hand in the standings, but even he left China frustrated with how the race unfolded. The tension between teammates, the lack of clarity in communication, and the continued underperformance are all combining to make life in red far more difficult than anyone expected, especially Hamilton. He came to Ferrari for a fresh start, a new challenge, a shot at making history with the most legendary team in Formula One. But so far, all he's found is frustration and a team that's still figuring out how to manage two elite drivers in a car that doesn't yet match their ambitions. The big question now is whether Ferrari can truly regroup and rebuild the internal structure that Hamilton so clearly needs in order to thrive. Can the team adapt not just technically, but culturally to match the way Hamilton operates under pressure? The challenge isn't just about faster pit stops or improved strategy calls. It's about restoring trust, synchronizing decision-making, and creating the kind of harmony that Hamilton once had with his previous engineers at Mercedes. Without that, no amount of car performance will be enough to unlock his full potential. Hamilton is not the kind of driver who reacts emotionally without reason. His frustration, made clear in both his radio responses and post-race interviews, points to a deeper disconnect, one that goes beyond a single miscommunication. It's about feeling listened to, about having confidence in the man on the other end of the radio, and about trusting that the team has his back when the pressure is on. Right now, that connection still feels fragile.